Pastor David was a man of faith, a powerful preacher, and an anointed servant of God. He had been called to lead a great church in Lagos, with thousands of people looking up to him. His voice resonated in the hearts of the congregation, his prayers healed the sick, and his wisdom guided many lives. Yet, despite all the success, there was a deep ache in his heart. His beloved wife, Eve, had been unable to conceive, and their house was empty of the sound of children. Eve, a woman of grace and beauty, stood by him through it all. She prayed with him, encouraged him, and loved him despite the years of waiting. Their love was beautiful, a testament to faith and endurance, but the silence in their home was deafening. Pastor David knew how much Eve longed for a child, and it hurt him deeply that they couldn't give her the one thing she desired most. But they kept trusting God, and they kept their faith alive. One day, Pastor David had to travel to a nearby state for a special program. It was an important conference, where he was invited to speak to thousands of fellow pastors and believers. He had been looking forward to it, eager to share the word of God and to be recharged by the presence of like-minded people. The night he arrived, he was tired from the long journey. After the program, some of the local pastors invited him to dinner at a fancy restaurant. They had a good time, chatting and laughing. But as the night grew darker, Pastor David started feeling a bit dizzy, and before he knew it, everything began to blur. A woman, dressed in a tight-fitting red dress, approached him. Her eyes were seductive, her smile warm and inviting. "Are you okay, sir?" she asked, her voice soft and sultry. He could barely focus, but he managed to nod. She smiled again, and before he knew it, she offered him a drink. "It'll help you relax," she said. Pastor David hesitated for a moment, but the dizziness and exhaustion overwhelmed him. He took the drink, not knowing that it was laced with something that would cloud his mind even further. As the night wore on, Pastor David felt himself getting weaker and weaker. The woman led him to a nearby hotel, promising to help him rest. His head was heavy, his thoughts scattered. He couldn't think straight. When they got to the hotel room, everything felt surreal, like he was trapped in a dream. The woman was now in his face, her touch electric and her whispers intoxicating. Before he could resist, his body betrayed him. The fight in him was gone. What followed was a blur, a moment of weakness that he could never have imagined. Pastor David, the man of God, the man who had preached faithfulness and purity, had fallen. The next morning, Pastor David woke up with a heavy heart and a confused mind. His body felt drained, his soul hollow. The woman was gone, and he was left alone in the room, the weight of his actions crushing him. He couldn't believe what had just happened. How could he have let it go this far? How could he, a man of God, fall into such temptation? The guilt washed over him like a tidal wave. His phone buzzed. It was a message from Eve. "I miss you, my love. I'm praying for you, trusting God for a miracle. I love you." The words hit him like a slap in the face. Eve, the woman who had been by his side through thick and thin, the woman who had supported him in everything, was waiting for him. She trusted him. She loved him. And he had betrayed that love. Pastor David sank to his knees, tears flowing down his face. How could he face Eve now? How could he face his church, his calling, after such a failure? His mind raced, the shame choking him. He had always been the one to lift others up, to encourage them, to help them walk in righteousness. But now, he felt like the one who needed saving. He couldn't call Eve. He couldn't face her, not yet. And so, he stayed silent, lost in his shame and guilt, not knowing what to do or where to turn. Pastor David sat there in that hotel room, the silence around him deafening. The tears had stopped flowing, but the weight of what he had done pressed down on him like a ton of bricks. He felt as though he was drowning in shame. His hands trembled as he reached for his phone, staring at Eve's message once more. "I miss you, my love. I'm praying for you, trusting God for a miracle. I love you." The words burned his eyes, like fire on his skin. How could he look her in the face after this? How could he tell her that he had failed her, failed God, in the most unforgivable way? She had been so faithful, so full of love and hope, and here he was broken, destroyed by one moment of weakness. His mind raced, trying to make sense of everything. He had been tired, yes. But tired or not, He had chosen to take that drink, chosen to let himself be led into temptation. The guilt gnawed at him, the whispers of "how could you," and "you're not who you claim to be" echoing in his ears. How could a man of God, a leader, fall this low? How could he fall into the very sin he had preached against so passionately? He couldn't get her face out of his mind, the woman who had tricked him, who had used his weakness against him. But even more, he couldn't erase the image of Eve, her smile, the way she trusted him with her heart, the way she loved him despite everything. She had stuck with him through their years of childlessness, through the pain of seeing others' families grow while theirs remained barren. How could he have been so foolish, so selfish? He stood up, pacing the room, his mind running in circles. He wanted to call her, tell her everything. But what would he say? How would he explain this? The woman who had spent countless nights praying for him, the woman who had trusted him, was about to be betrayed in the most devastating way. The thought of her face when she found out sent another wave of nausea through him. Would she cry? Would she hate him? Would she leave him, just like that? His phone buzzed again. It was a call this time, and his heart nearly stopped. It was Eve. For a long moment, Pastor David just stared at the screen, frozen. Should he answer it? Should he tell her everything, or keep silent? He didn't know what to do. His body wanted to fall to the ground, beg for forgiveness, but he was too afraid. Too afraid of losing her, of losing everything. He let it ring out. The guilt now felt like a physical weight on his chest, suffocating him, pushing the air from his lungs. He sank back into the chair, the phone still in his hand. How could he call himself a man of God? How could he ever step back into that pulpit again and preach to people, tell them about God's grace and forgiveness, when he had just stained himself in the most shameful way? The minutes passed slowly, each one like an eternity. His thoughts were dark, filled with regret and sorrow. He had done the one thing he had promised himself he would never do. He had betrayed Eve, and in doing so, he had betrayed God. The phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message. From Eve. David, I understand you're busy with the program, but I need you to call me as soon as you can. There's something I need to tell you. Please don't ignore me. David's heart dropped. What could this be? Was Eve? Was she about to tell him something that would break him even more? Was she going to tell him that she was done? That she couldn't bear to live with him anymore? A part of him wanted to reach out, to grab the phone and call her right now. But his hands felt heavy. His heart felt heavy. He didn't deserve her, didn't deserve her love. But he still loved her. More than anything in this world. And he couldn't lose her. He looked at the message again, feeling the weight of the moment. He couldn't run from it. He had to face the truth. He had to confess. It was the only way forward. He had to humble himself, fall on his knees, and beg God for mercy. But most importantly, he had to call Eve. He had to face her. Before he could make up his mind, the phone rang again. It was Eve. This time, he answered it. Hello. David. Where are you? What happened? Eve's voice trembled on the other end. There was fear in it, confusion. I need you to tell me everything. Pastor David closed his eyes, his chest tightening. He had waited too long. Now, he had no choice but to face the storm he had caused. I'm so sorry, Eve. I don't know how to explain this, but I need you to listen to me. I've made a terrible mistake. A mistake that I can never undo, and I am so sorry. There was silence on the other end. Long, painful silence. He could hear Eve breathing, the tension in the air palpable. I don't know what happened. I was weak. I fell into temptation. I was with another woman. I didn't want it to happen. I never meant for it to happen. But it did. And now I've ruined everything. Eve's voice cracked, and David's heart shattered. David. Why? Why would you do this? I trusted you. I believed in you. I know, Eve, I know. I've failed you, and I've failed myself. But I need you to hear me. I love you. And I'm so sorry. Please, don't leave me. Please, don't give up on me. There was a long pause before Eve finally spoke. David. I don't know what to say. I don't know if I can ever forgive you for this. But right now, I need time. I need to think. I don't know if I can stay in this marriage. I just don't know. The words cut through him like a knife, each one deepening the wound he had already caused. I understand, he whispered, his voice thick with tears. I'll give you all the time you need. But please, don't say goodbye. Please. Pastor David sat there in the silence, the weight of Eve's words still pressing on him. His heart ached with every breath he took. He could hear Eve's quiet sobs on the other end of the line, and it tore him apart. How could he have done this? How could he have destroyed the one thing that had been most precious to him? He sat on the edge of the bed, his hands clasped tightly in his lap, and the truth sank deeper into his soul. He had made a choice. A wrong one. A selfish one. But it wasn't too late. It wasn't the end, not if he had any strength left to fight for what mattered. I'm so sorry, Eve, he whispered again. I don't deserve you, but I love you with everything in me. I was foolish, and I've hurt you. But please, if there's any chance you can find it in your heart to forgive me, I will spend every day for the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of your trust again. There was another long silence, and in that silence, Pastor David realized how much he had taken Eve for granted. Her unwavering faith, her patient love, all these years of waiting for a child, praying for a miracle, yet he had been too blind to see the preciousness of her presence. Finally, Eve spoke, her voice shaking. David, I don't know what to say. My heart is broken, but I can't just throw everything away. I need you to change. I need to see that you truly regret what you've done, not just because you were caught, but because you've seen the depth of your mistake. I need to know that you're willing to fight for us. Tears streamed down Pastor David's face as he nodded, even though she couldn't see him. I will, Eve. I'll do whatever it takes. I promise you. This won't happen again. I'll fight for you. I'll fight for our marriage. The road ahead would not be easy. He knew that. Trust, once broken, was not easily mended. But in that moment, Pastor David knew that the greatest battle he would ever face wasn't the one in the pulpit, or against temptation. It was the battle to restore his wife's trust and to redeem himself in the eyes of the woman he loved. Months passed, and the journey to healing was long and difficult. Pastor David spent time in prayer, seeking forgiveness from God, asking for strength and wisdom to make things right. He went to counseling, both alone and with Eve, determined to confront his weaknesses and rebuild the broken parts of his heart. Eve, though hurt and cautious, allowed him to prove his sincerity with time and patience. The road was rocky, filled with moments of doubt, but with every tear, every conversation, and every prayer, they began to heal. Pastor David's ministry also changed. He was no longer just a preacher, he was a man humbled by his own flaws, seeking redemption, and offering others the same grace he had received. He spoke openly about his mistakes, using his own fall as a testimony of God's mercy and forgiveness. His words had weight now, not just because of his anointing, but because of the transformation in his heart. The moral of Pastor David's story is simple but powerful. Temptation is everywhere, and no one, no matter how anointed or holy they may seem, is immune to it. But the true measure of a person isn't found in their moments of greatness, but in their willingness to face their failures, take responsibility for their actions, and seek forgiveness. There is always hope for redemption, even in the darkest of moments. Change is possible, but it requires humility, time, and effort. And above all, the power of love and forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds if we are willing to fight for it. In the end, Pastor David and Eve emerged stronger, their faith in God and in each other renewed, and Eve became pregnant. They had learned that the greatest gift they could give each other was not perfection, but a willingness to stand together through both the triumphs and the failures of life. And so, Pastor David continued his ministry, no longer as a perfect man, but as a man redeemed, grateful for God's grace, and forever thankful for the love and forgiveness of his wife, Eve. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share and subscribe for more interesting stories.